Alright, back to our 266. So they're actually going to do something a little different with this one than they usually do. And got a highway pop-up piston for 268. So you can see the bottom of the piston's a little different. It's supposed to be a good jump in power with just that change. Get better flow in there. But also, it is a pop-up piston, so we will get a little more compression out of it. I'm going to use one of my best used cylinders for this one. This one cleaned up really good. And I'm hoping we can do a no gasket build on this one. I do have a gasket here. We'll see how it works out. And just because I have it, I'm going to throw caber rings on there. I ordered some of those a while back. I think I ordered 6. Turns out they come 2 to a package, so I got a dozen. I have all kinds of them, so have them, so we'll use them. The highway rings, some people say they aren't as good. I haven't had problems with them, but I have the caber, so we'll put it in. Alright. Very different clips this time than I'm used to seeing with highway stuff. These are definitely a lot better than the typical ones that fall out. Oh yeah, tension wise they're very strong, so I don't think them falling out is going to be an issue anymore. Now let's see what happens here for Squish. Let's take a couple bolts in and see what we got here. Okay, we're not hitting, so that's a start. Let's give her a check and see what we got. perfect. Okay. I don't know if you can read that. 20 thou, 20.5. That's perfect. We're definitely going to go no gasket on this one. That should work out nicely. Not that the 266 doesn't have lots of compression to begin with, but this will run really nice. And it's not so thin, it's not so tight that I'm worried about anything hitting. Because we are starting to get into bigger saw where things stretch a little bit more. You need a little bit more room. Like my 262, I have really tight. It's all probably too tight. I know I wouldn't sell it the way it is. I think I have it at like, I think 14.5. It hasn't caused any problems yet, but that's, you know, yeah, I like to see 16, 17. Saws over 65 cc like this, you know, 20 is about where you want to be. You don't want to be too tight because when things get hot, they expand and you don't need the piston hammer in the cylinder. I use MotoSeal because it's the easiest thing for me to get around here. I haven't had any problems with it ever. I'm not going to say that there's something wrong with Durco or anything like that, because that stuff is good. It's just, it's a lot easier for me to get MotoSeal. It's always on the shelf at the parts store. Everything else I'd, except for maybe Yamabon, I'd have to order in. But my problem is the Yamaha dealer isn't open on Saturdays, and with my work schedule I just can't get there. Yeah, we're not trying to build a big giant thick gasket with this stuff either. It's just a thin coat. That's all you need. I personally don't use any fancy ring compressor tools. I've always gotten along just fine with just my fingers. I'm sure I'd probably appreciate a good tool if I had one, but I never have, so I just do what I'm used to. Okay, cylinder is on. Okay, muffler. This one. This is one of the very few of these saws I have that actually still has the deflector on it, and even has the screen still in the muffler. Someone poked holes in it, but it's still there. That doesn't usually happen. Carburetor, I cannot remember if I have this one apart, so let's just put a kit in it anyway. Because I have a whole whack of those, so. Most of the time all these needs are diaphragms and good cleaning. Very seldom do I actually put a complete kit in. Yeah, definitely. Now, unfortunately, the camera stopped recording on me. So, carburetor's torn apart. It's a mess. We drilled and tapped the case for a new style kill switch, because this is the original one. See, it grounds by just pushing in. But this one's not in bad shape, but typically where this is riveted together is very loose and they don't work anymore. So this is the late style. It grounds with a screw. So I've drilled and tapped the hole. We'll put that in when we get there. So, carburetor, kind of dirty, but hopefully it's just going to be diaphragms. And I have a full kit, but usually I don't need to put them in. So I usually just put it together to see how it runs first. 99% of the time I get away with just the diaphragms. This one, other than the fact that it's very rusty, it's not even bad, but it's dirty. So, worst case scenario, you could actually reuse that one if you really were stuck in the bush. Yeah, be careful with these kits that fit more than one carb. The gaskets may look the same, but you need to match up your holes. If you don't, you'll find out later that, oh, it doesn't work now. Or it starts dumping fuel back to the right through, or it doesn't fuel. The important thing is you need to set your needles up properly. Now I don't have the Tillotson tool, but I do have the Walbro W gauge. Very, very handy thing to have. Now on this one we want the back end or metering lever even with their floor, and we're there because the STC part of the Walbro gauge is the same, so we're good. Okay, so we're going to start at one turn out on each one. And that should be pretty close to where our final number actually ends up. So, now we need an intake block. There we go, we scrounged up a carb block and a good intake gasket. I got lots of carb blocks, but apparently all of my gasket sets have 272 or 268 style intake gaskets in them, so we have a good used one. Let's do the job. The thing is, 266, your intake block actually screws onto the cylinder separately, and then the carburetor bolts screw into it. Whereas 272 style, the bolts go right through. So that is, if you're doing a 52 mil top end on these, that's one of the things you have to change out. So, another video, another saw will do that, because I do have one of those kits. So. Okay, top ends all together. That should be set up pretty good. We'll put the tank back on, put the handle back on, and finish up. And before I started this video, this unit already has a new fuel line filter in it. That was usually one of the first things I do with these saws, just because I keep all that stuff in stock. And with these fuel lines, I always go OEM Husky, because they're not expensive. My dealer always has them in stock. Like, I think they're 12 bucks or 16 bucks my cost. So it's not worth it for me with these to deal with the aftermarket lines, because they're both the same price. So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Oh, chain catch is missing on this one. We'll have to fix that problem. So I have those two. And of course the fuel line moved and pinched itself. So let's fix that. There we go. Alright, we're mostly together now. We just need carb linkage, which I forgot to do before. Always fun when you use these little guys in the shop, because you never do see them again. Or at least I don't. I'm sure if I took this bench out, there's 4 or 5 of them under there. Carbu's hooked up. Tank's mounted. Robbed the chain catch from one of the other chassis on the shelf. Apparently I need to order some because I seem to be missing a bunch. No, it's never going to go on there. It's too dried out. Okay, so put the top handle on this sucker and recoil, and we'll see what happens. Alrighty. It's nice to have just a box of parts on the shelf. The 266s, the things that are hard to come by really are the top covers, because there is no aftermarket on them. And a lot of them seem to have taken a pretty severe beating. This one's gonna rip your hand out. This one's gonna rip the handle right out of your hand, that's for sure. Whew. you've got some compression. I better make sure there's still gas in it. And there's not. Apparently the idle is set extremely high. Let's see what kind of squeeze we got out of this sucker. Well, I definitely don't think we're lacking for compression. That's what, just under 220, about 218. So I think she's healthy. All right, fast forward a year. Initially had some problems with the fuel on the low side of the carburetor in this when I made the rest of this video, and I kind of got frustrated and threw it on the shelf and didn't pick it up again for 8-9 months. When I did, I found the low screw had fallen out of the carburetor, but if you watched it earlier in the video, I clearly was turning it, so I don't know what was up with that. But it's got probably about half a dozen or maybe even more tanks through it now. It actually runs very well. Quite strong for basically a completely stock other than piston build. Runs very well. Unfortunately this time I don't think I have any video with a decent chain on it, but I think I've got some I can stick on the end here.